Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And this week we're reviewing Peacemaker, Episode 7, now streaming on HBOMax, and it's titled Stop Dragging My Heart Around. Yes, everybody sing. All right, let's get into it, and let me introduce the crew. I'm Dr. Rodden, and joining me tonight are the SLATTMAN, the one and only Christopher Slattery. How you doing, sir?
I believe you mean Christopher. There's always this. I just ruined the joke.
Yeah, no.
It's always a good time to rock, Slattery, the SLATTMAN.
It is. It's always a good time to rock. I will give you that. All right. It was let's keep going. All right, award-winning filmmaker, let's welcome him, Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
Somebody gets their wording abilities from their dad.
No, maybe.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Just saying.
Just
DNA doesn't drop very far from the tree, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
And with that, let's segue into the show about father problems.
Oh, wow.
Well,
we are here to review Peacemaker episode 7. What we're going to do, we're going to give our first impression. That first impression will be spoiler-free, and then we'll dive into a discussion. We will get into spoilers, and Christopher G. Moore has Easter eggs for us. I gotta keep remembering that because I forgot last week. Got zinged. And then we'll wrap things up with our recommendation, our score, and our favorite scene. Let's look at the CAD, shall we? Ding! I don't know why I dinged, but let's go with it. Season 1, Episode 7, Stop Dragging My Heart Around. Available streaming on HBO Max February 10th of 2022. Directed by Brad Anderson, a name that horror aficionados will recognize. Written by James Gunn. Cast includes John Cena, Daniel Brooks, Freddie Stroma, Chadwick Wooji, I still butchered it, Jennifer Holland, Steve Agee, Patrick of the Robert Patricks, and not Lee. Patrick Robert is somebody else, I'm pretty sure. All right.
That's what happens when you have two first names. And
dyslexia just kind of goes that way. All right. Synopsis: Harcourt, Murn, and Adebayo find themselves. Yes, it is not too far from the tree. Find themselves surrounded by an alien force while Peacemaker squares off against his father with the help from Vigilante and Economos. That's rather accurate, is it not?
Very much.
All right.
I would also like to point out that your pronunciation of those names are getting better every single week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I still butcher a few. All right. What is your first impression of Episode 7?
I loved it. So this episode, I feel like, kind of strays away from the humorous side of significantly strays away from the humorous side. There's still good moments, but it's not quite as fun as the last couple episodes, but that doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, this episode kind of tugs at your heartstrings for a lot of it. It's got a couple of really intense moments. It's got a couple of really well done fight scenes that have a lot of heart and emotion in it. And there's also just a lot of emotion from all of our characters in this episode, and I'm digging it. This is kind of the gut punch or the emotional pull that you need to really to drive us into that final episode, and they've done a phenomenal job. And they've also without spoiling anything, I think they've done a very good job of starting to tie up loose ends without stringing them along. And I just, credit where credit's due. The writing is phenomenal. The acting is getting better and better with every episode. The character development is hitting an all-time high, and the soundtrack is just amazing. And
the soundtrack is amazing.
and even for such a a downer episode, for lack of better terms, I feel like there's still a lot of really great scenes and a lot of really humorous moments too. But it's not like a gut-wrenching laugh out loud the whole way through, and I think that's perfectly fine.
It is. Are we going to be able to do the laugh out loud moment of the week? Like we
I think there's at
There's
least
plenty?
3 great.
Okay. All right.
He's really understating the humor. I think humor is the fabric of the story, no matter how you look at it. It's just not as prevalent as previous episodes. I'll say that.
I would
I agree
argue that
with
there's
that.
a lot of humor baked into scenes that have a lot more emotional pull than in previous episodes. So while there are funny moments, they're not just, you don't remember them as just being funny moments.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think is it my turn?
It is your turn. Go. Let's give it your.
Sorry to feed it. Well, the thing is, like, for every little piece of, I mean, I love the episode. I think this episode is a good example of how James Gunn can balance both humor and drama within the same thing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other, because no matter, every time that you get some kind of emotional moment, there's a comedy joke right after it. You could have someone die and they'd be upset, and the next minute there's a joke about something else, like the facial expression joke. So there's all these different jokes that, in the midst of drama or action or whatever, there's always that good balance of humor, or those funny moments where just a play on a line of dialogue, and that's what I love about this. I mean, there's some really good writing again, and we're definitely building to the finale, and we get to sort of some really, and I think, if anything, for me, I feel like more than anything, this show shows John Cena's range as an actor, because we get to see him being like the big goofy, muscular dude. He's really good at doing comedy and saying things that he could say stuff with a straight face, and it's funny just because he's delivering these wacky lines. He's almost like a muscular Leslie Nielsen to some degree, but probably better, because I think Leslie Nielsen sort of, like, later in his career, kind of lost the joke of his delivery. It was more about being goofy as opposed to delivery. But also, there's those moments where you feel for John Cena's character. This episode is one of the few episodes that actually I got teary-eyed and welled up in one scene. And it was a scene I never thought I would involving an eagle. I was like, why am I getting emotional during this scene? It's because of a lot of it had to do with John Cena's emoting, even though there's even a joke within that scene of the lines he's delivering. So I think no matter, I mean, that's why I wanted to point out, like, humor is actually the fabric of this, even though there is this underlying story that's really cool, and the emotional aspects of it, because even the very beginning's very serious. The very opening scene's very serious and kind of dark if you think about it. And you realize Peacemaker's the way he is because he's had a fucked up childhood. But yeah, I don't know. This, after watching this episode, it's like I kind of hope we have more seasons of this series, because I really enjoy these characters. I love the growth of the characters. I love the writing. I love the crazy, wacky storylines that we even get a wacky thing at the very end. I was like, what the fuck is that thing? It reminded me of one of his previous films, Slither, when they go into a barn, and it feels like that's like, what is that thing?
I can't wait till we can talk about that.
Well,
spoilers.
It's almost, well, I'm not going to say what it reminded me of. Well, I'll say spoilers, but yeah, I don't know. I loved every minute of this, and and even though Slatteman was talking about, there's so many quotable things that made me laugh during this episode, and I don't know. At the same time, one of my favorite characters, I know Vanessa said this, but one of my favorite characters is Vigilante, because he's nuts, but his he's so weird. And there's somebody who's like, what is wrong with you, dude? I don't know. And I've actually been looking up stuff. I want to cosplay Vigilante in the future. But anyway, I love this episode, and it makes me kind of excited to see where we're going to end this series for this season.
Yep, and we got raccoons. James Gunn and raccoons.
Loves his raccoons.
Kind of has to happen. I really enjoyed this. This series has, like I've been saying all along, has been a big surprise, and we definitely are squeezing in on the plot. We're getting rid of all the subplots. I think we've effectively knocked out all the subplots, I would imagine. We're now down to the wire and focused on the main Mars attacks kind of thing going on here. You'll see what I mean here shortly. When we get to Christopher, but this one had the storytelling was really nice because it begins and basically ends. If you don't count the final shot, it basically begins and ends with an arc with Peacemaker and his father, and it's just really, we've built these two characters up for 5 episodes, and then of course we've had Peacemaker built up in the movie as well. But it just really, it really came together and had impact and resonance, at its conclusion. So I'm impressed. Let's put it that way. I'm impressed. So let's dive into our spoilery and Easter eggy review now. So if you haven't seen the episode, pause, go watch it, come back and catch the rest of this. Why don't we go ahead and do this, Christopher, and start off with our Easter eggs for episode 7?
Yeah, I will say, first of all, there's not a lot in this, at least not what I found or even what other people found, but here's just a few things that kind of stood out, references and other things. If you pay attention, the opening song, when you have the two brothers, it's Home Sweet Home. Mm-hmm. It's which they're playing the record of, and that's the same song, of course, we saw in the previous episode where Peacemaker was playing it on the piano. So we get to sort of understand that, that song reminds him of his brother, and that makes it even more sad knowing that was the song that he played last time. Also, if you pay attention, when his father, they're tracking his helmets, if you look at the GPS tracker on the phone, it says Augisoft version 3.0. So not only is his dad is racist, he's also tech savvy and creates his own software, which is even more dangerous if you think about it. Of course, it wouldn't be a James Gunn thing if we didn't have pop culture references. Of course, Doc sort of mentioned one thing. What is this? Mars Attacks that Leota says. We also get this long conversation about Boondock Saints. About the
I was not expecting that. Yeah.
And also we get a Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid reference where evidently Vigilante thinks that they survived at the end of that film. They jumped over the bullets. Yeah, right, Vigilante. You are just
it's quite the optimistic outlook, right?
Also, I learned through Twitter that the reason he always puts his glasses on when he takes his mask off is because the little visor is prescription. So something to know. Right. Also, here's a weird deep cut that I didn't know about. The car that Vigilante steals, the license plate says 14 words. Actually 14 WRODS, which is actually a racist rhetoric. It's a reference to the most popular white supremacist slogan. It was coined by a terrorist group called the Order, and they usually quote that a lot. So it's kind of freaky that they actually went to the detail of having their license plate which just shows how
it's a little disturbing.
What a bunch of pillow wearing assholes they are. Also, Vigilante, when he jumps out of the blue and stabs him, if you remember the previous episode when they go in there and he's like, "Hey, look at all the gaps in the armor. That's a weakness," and so that's a weak point in the cloth. So again, we get a call back to that, and he uses that to his advantage. So that's just a few of the references. I didn't get a lot in this episode. I don't know if you saw any others, Doc or SLATTMAN, but there's a few things that kind of stood out.
Those are the big ones. Those are the big ones for sure. I don't think I did I don't think I have anything else. Do you, Slatman?
No.
Although
No.
although there was one YouTube channel mentioned that they have an idea why we of course we had the return of Judo Master. One of the reasons that Judo Master eats the flaming hot Cheetos all the time is because that way he can make sure that butterflies don't fly in his mouth.
Yes, I saw that.
Which I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And his costume always covers up the
his
other.
butt, so he's good to go.
He's good to go. Oh my goodness! Just don't go to sleep. All right.
No.
Okay, so a big part of this episode is the battle between the White Dragon and Peacemaker and Vigilante, I guess, and John Economos. What did we think of this? You know, we spent a lot of time building up the conflict between Chris Smith and his father. Did it pay off?
I think so. I thought that it was a natural escalation of, especially considering what was it last episode. Augie was like, "I'm gonna go kill my son," something I should have done a long time ago, and here we are. I thought it was well done. I also think that it was done in a way that felt satisfying for us, the viewer, and it looked like it was a satisfying closure of the arc for Chris Smith. Or yeah, it's Chris Smith, right? Yeah,
it is. Yep.
Yeah, and I also just think the timing of how it ended just kind of worked out perfectly. You know, like the last thing that happened was his dad doubting him and saying that you're never going to be good enough, basically, and proves him wrong and just immediately.
Right. I like that when put it just the visual that when the White Dragon is laying on the ground, his head won't touch the ground, but the blood is dripping out of his head onto the pavement. I don't know if you noticed that. Quite the detail.
Definitely.
I really enjoy it, and I liked how awkward Vigilante was with it. You know, he didn't realize that he doesn't realize the emotion. He thinks he's doing the exercises again, which is interesting.
Well, I think also when he tries to comfort him, he's like tender, nice, touching. And it kind of was like, let's stop that. It's creepy.
That's creepy.
But yeah, I mean, well, I think, that ultimate confrontation between Peacemaker and his father is really powerful, because you have this guy who's basically the ultimate sort of like role model for how these extreme Christian rhetoric type people are. You know, even mentions the Abraham story from the Bible, and he calls out his devil music, and him calls him out as being bisexual as well. If you think about it,
yeah,
like slept with women and slept with men, and so it's almost like that biblical fire that sometimes preachers throw at people for being horrible people, and you can understand that how he's sort of been at that thumb, and just he ultimately always trying to make his father proud, and now he's like, you know what, you're not worth making proud. And for him to even though he's killing his father, he's still torn about it because it's his father. It's a really hard thing to do. So, and yeah, that moment is like really powerful, and I think but then I love those powerful moments where it's not really diffused, but that the extra fabric of humor of the characters like Vigilante and that kind of stuff after these type of moments.
Yeah, and John Economos gets to mow down quite a lot of pillowheads.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's kind of stepping up too, because he's, again, you get to see the arc of his character as well. That started off as this guy who's always stuck in the van and not really getting out in the field and doing things, and he's gaining more confidence in that. I think one of the reference YouTube things talked about how his t-shirts have changed. Like he's always wearing like the wolves one earlier, and this one he's got a jellyfish. Jellyfish are very dangerous, and so he's sort of you know, I think that's what I love about this series. It's like it's not just one character growing; they're all growing. They're all sort of growing into the person trying to figure out who they are. You know, even Harcourt to some degree.
Very much so. Yeah,
Leota, you know, Economos. They're all sort of figuring out who they are, and also feeling the family unit of that as well. You know, and I think Vigilante is probably the only it's sort of not maybe he's just too batshit crazy to understand anything, but you know, little by little, I guess, you know, maybe he'll learn something from this.
Maybe.
Have you also noticed that since getting called about it, Economos hasn't been dyeing his beard?
Yes, it's getting
it's getting, the white part is getting longer with each episode.
Well, I mean, that's attention to detail that, you know, some people might not catch, but I noticed it right away. And when, you know, after the first, he stopped doing that because he called him that. So it's all these people, you know, they're trying to be certain ways or certain things, and they're all growing into their own thing. You know, if Leota's trying to, you know, she's figuring out, okay, well, maybe this is something I might be good at, you know.
It's almost like it's one of the themes of the show is
being
yourself and not who you think, and not who society thinks you should be.
Another plot point that we should bring up is Murn.
That was so sad.
Who gets killed by all the other Martians or whatever they are, the butterflies, right? The butterflies in human skin. Even to the point where he tries to get out and she grabs the butterfly and gives him a good squeeze. And then, of course, he gets before he dies, gets to say goodbye to Harcourt, which is a oddly emotional scene as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I never thought it would be an emotional scene with looks like a part butterfly, part praying mantis type thing. I mean, I think that's what James Gunn's pretty good at, even though this was directed, not directed by James Gunn, but just creating these moments where you feel for these weird characters that normally you wouldn't give a shit about, but you know, even in his bug form, you sort of feel that the sadness about that, you know.
Yeah. And then, of course, Harcourt steps up to be the new leader, which is her arc, I would imagine, right?
Well, yeah, and you get to see her and Leota fight the judo master too for a little bit.
They do. It works out well. Leota takes him out again. I guess we should talk about the ending before we wrap things up, and that's finally we get the appearance of the cow. And holy cow!
Did it look like a baby to y'all?
Well, that's what I was saying.
So.
It looked like James Gunn's version of Baby Yoda. You know, it was a big gross baby because he had the little square, the little pointy tooth in the middle. Yeah, and I don't know. I think for me, it might be kind of interesting if that might be a situation to where Peacemaker sees that as a baby, that it's being used like he was being used, you know.
I wonder if that would be Vigilante actually being like, it's just a kid.
Well, it reminds me of that in animated form. It reminds me of two things. One, in animated form, the big caterpillar in Monsters vs. Aliens. I don't know if anybody remembers that cartoon or that animated film. Do you guys remember? Because it had the single tooth as well. And then the big slugs in space, was it?
Star Troopers?
Star Troopers, yes.
Starship Troopers, yeah. Oh, yeah, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
Because they had the multiple eyes.
Well, yeah. And like I pointed out previously, it did feel very Slither.
Oh, yes, it did.
When he goes in that barn and the woman's all swolled up, it just, you know, it was definitely especially when I went back and watched it again. It's just very creepy when you see the little things like sucking on its little bug boobies, and it's just yeah, it's just got because it's got this big baby head and it's got all these little mini boobies, and I'm like, this is a gross picture I don't need in my brain right now.
James Gunn has a way with alien like creatures.
He does. He's got a lot of experience with that.
Even with the butterflies, they're very well designed and very well done. So
well, and Weta's also been creating the Eagly, and I'll say that is one of probably the coolest animals that's ever been in any kind of property, where you feel for that the creature, just you feel like it's a real thing, and it emoting doesn't feel weird like some of these movies where the like Homeward Bound or some kind of weird things where they're just like
I think that was one of the things that made the confrontation with the White Dragon and all his little supporters so, like, I guess, like it is so tense or so like impactful, even more so than just the story behind it, is that you saw them take down Eagly, and that kind of signified that, oh shit, maybe all these characters aren't safe from this.
Well, and it's also the eagle is a symbol of America, and you have these sort of racist terrorist characters, and they're slapping it down, not really giving a care about it. And so I was thinking that too. I was like, surely they can't kill off Eagly.
No.
And I will say, the scene where he's Peacemaker's in front of Eagle made me cry. I never thought I would cry over a CGI bird, but you got me, damn it.
Got you. All right, well, with that, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our recommendation, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. SLATTMAN, let us have it.
Recommendation: watch it. Please watch this show. It's easily the best thing that's on television or guess streaming, like new thing in 2022 so far. And if you haven't watched the previous episodes, please watch them before watching this, because this is such a strong episode, because it's got so many things that have been built up for 6 episodes now, and 6 episodes worth of tension and 6 episodes worth of character development, all kind of colliding into one giant explosion of awesome.
Wow. Nice. Nicely done.
Yeah. And then just shout outs to the director, mostly known for horror stuff and pulling off the comedy in this episode and the fight scenes and everything very, very well. So kudos. And then I loved it. This is another 5 for me. 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
Yeah, my favorite scene, sorry Mr. Moore, I think this was probably gonna be yours, but it's the my favorite scene is when John Cena's like right there next to Eagly in the vet's office, and just Eagly coming back to life and hugging him, and just that scene was just, it was so great. It made you cry, made you laugh, then cry, then laugh again. And then my favorite laugh out loud moment was when they were all preparing for the final confrontation at the very end, and you turn and it pans to the camera, and the veterinarians are right there, and they're just ready, and like they pump the shotgun, and they're just like, not you guys. And then it pans back to them, and they're just like, nice people, all things considered, except for that vigilante guy. Yeah, he's kind of messed up.
I like that. All right. Let's keep this going. Christopher G. Moore, let us have it.
Yeah, another spectacular episode. It had so many sort of fun moments. A lot of the action moments were done really well. We have some really dramatic, emotional moments. Yeah, and it builds to sort of like us getting ready for what's going to happen in the end, with them having to combat the butterflies once and for all, and possibly taking out the cow. I mean, and there was even a moment where it's like, surely they didn't kill off Vigilante. They better not have. So yeah, it's a really another fun episode. This series is just, it keeps me. I didn't realize it was going to make me emotional. In parts, and make me laugh in parts, like it normally does. Yeah, you could tell her just having fun with these characters, and this is what a show should do. The characters, should, I guess you have some shows where you really don't care about growth. That's why shows like the A-Team exist. But this one, you have growth over each episode. You have their character arcs for each of them, and they're and they're sort of all coming together as the family that they this fractured family that's becoming together as a family by the end. And I think kudos to John Cena, who follows me on Twitter now, by the way. Just saying. And kudos to I mean, he's really showing his strength as an actor, his flexibility in playing different emotions, going from 1 minute comedy, having his face scratched off by a raccoon, the next minute to being emotional because he thinks his one of his only real friend who loves him is going to die. I can't say enough good things. This easily gets a 5 out of 5. They're shooting. This show's so great, and I think James Gunn, just allow him to do whatever shows he wants to at this point. I'm going to watch any of it, especially if it's this sort of his level of humor and storytelling and crazy weird characters. You stole my scene, Chris.
Nah.
I hate you.
Mine too.
I'm gonna battle you in a dirt pit.
Oh no. This doesn't go well for wait, was it the older brother or the younger brother that
you'll find out? Just make sure you put some not anyway. If I had to pick another scene, it'll probably be his confrontation with his dad.
Nice.
Which is very, very powerful. And finally having to pull the trigger and sort of like get back at his father, who sort of tormented him all this life. My favorite laugh out loud moment is it's when Vigilante says I gotta go pee, and Economos shows up. He's peeing, and his pants are fully down. And you see his eyes. He's like, "Why do you have your pants down?" He's like, "I can't pee when clothes are touching my butt." Oh my god! There's just moments like that. Vigilante just cracks me up. I mean, there's like another moment where they're like, it's like, let's kill that cow. Yeah, like, I'm in. And he's like, #me too. It's like things are like, no, that's not how you use that. Vigilante. But anyway, that's my laugh out loud moment. But I will say him hugging the eagle moment is one of my favorite things in the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
And also how we have a callback to him finally taking a selfie with the eagle.
Yes,
that was almost also my laugh out loud moment, because the moment he picked up the camera, I died.
The look on his face. I love that, that what is her name? Latoya? No, it's not Latoya. Leota. Cesar Jackson all of a sudden. Is I don't know. But that she saw it, and she was like telling her wife, "I saw an eagle hug a human." I don't know. Anyway, I'll just do this quickly. This show is everything I didn't know I wanted it to be. It's fantastic. John Cena is incredible in this. While it's highly a highly comical performance, it also does have a lot of range, especially in this episode at the beginning when he's remembering what happened to his brother, and then of course dealing with the tragic end at the end of the show. So and then also the conversation he has with Leota too, when she admits about the diary. It's interesting and complex character, and the way he communicates. I don't know. I'm really, really fascinated with what they've done here. It's amazing, and fully enjoyed. 5 out of 5, of course. I think this is one of the best series out there. And my favorite scene, I'm going to go with my laugh out moment scene first, because I know what that is. I have to think still about my favorite one because it involves an eagle hugging a human. So the laugh out. Okay, so these rednecks come out of a car and they go into this place, and there's judo masters just sitting there eating his chips, right? And they start egging on him and like calling him a leprechaun and all this.
Yeah.
And then when they come out, he's not there, and he attacks them. And when he looks at him and goes and does a little leprechaun dance, I thought I was going to lose my shit. It's just that. It was just pure physical comedy, right? And it was great. What did he say? He also said something else about what was it? It was ding dong bitches. So my favorite scene though, if it oh gosh, I really have to think about what my favorite scene is going to be if it's not that. It's maybe okay. So it's kind of the encompassing of the after everything kind of settles down and they're starting to go after the cow, right? And it's Harcourt taking they all look at Harcourt to be the new leader, and she does, and they walk out in slow motion. Even Eagly's beside them, and then they're in the car, and Economos turns on music, and she's like, what are you doing? It's always a good time to to rock and roll. And what I loved about it is her smile, her reaction to it, all that leading up to that. So I mean, it's a long scene. It's a lot. It's actually a stringing a couple scenes together, but so a little bit of a cheat, but there you go. That's what I loved.
Oh, by the way, congrats to Daniel Brooks, who's just been cast in the Color Purple musical movie. So
yes
plays Leota.
Yeah, thank you.
So
who's she playing it opposite? It's
I forgot all the different actors in it.
It's
but,
it's
so she's playing basically the
American
Oprah
Idol.
Winfrey. She's also playing. She's playing the Oprah Winfrey part, and I got to see the video where Oprah Winfrey contacted her.
Oh
She
wow!
got the part. So
wow, that's gonna be awesome. All right, well there you go. That's our review for a Peacemaker episode 7. 1 episode left. And hopefully a season 2. Have they announced it?
There's been no announcement.
Oh, we need an announcement.
Sure, DC will let James Gunn do whatever he wants after the success that they've got on their hands right now.
I mean, it is.
Well, he
right?
he hasn't come out and said it, but somebody did ask him on Twitter. Have they talked about doing a season 2? He said, yeah, but that's all he said.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have news next week. All right. So there you go. Leave us some comments down below. If you like what you see, please hit the share, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. All those things will be grateful for you, right? And of course, we want to hear your comments down below. What Easter eggs did we miss? What was your favorite moment? What are your predictions for the next episode? How will this end?
Probably with explosions.
And foul language. And bare butts. All right.
Oh no! Oh no!
Lots of peeing. What?
Oh man! All right. Thank you for joining me, Slatman and Christopher. This was a wonderful, fun time.
I don't want this show to end, but yeah, it's so much fun talking about it.
So much.
Love
All right.
it.
Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.